sun had just begun to rise over Lagos, casting a golden glow across the city's skyline. Adana stirred from sleep, the familiar luxury of her penthouse greeting her, but today it felt different. The once dizzying weight of her responsibilities had lifted ever so slightly. Lying still for a moment, she soaked in the peace of the morning, the calm before the storm. Yesterday was monumental. She had stood her ground at Enkay Enterprises, made the tough calls that no one else could make, and in rejecting the merger with Emeka, she had reclaimed her company's soul. It wasn't just a victory for Enkay Enterprises, it was a victory for herself. For too long, she had juggled between the life of a powerful billionaire CEO and the woman who just wanted to be seen, to be loved for who she was. Yesterday, she had taken the first real step toward finding that balance. Her thoughts shifted to Chik, a smile pulling at her lips as she thought of him. He had been a beacon of light through it all, steady, kind, and patient, even when she had been overwhelmed. In him, she had found something real, something that wasn't tied to power, wealth, or status. She had found the connection she hadn't realized she was craving. But as much as she had embraced this new part of her life, she knew that peace in her personal life couldn't come without navigating the turbulence in her professional world. She glanced at her phone, her schedule for the day full of meetings, contract reviews, and a press briefing about the latest initiative at Enkay Enterprises. Yet, despite the packed agenda, she felt a clarity she hadn't felt in years. The decision to reject Emeka's merger offer had recentered her, reminded her of her own power and integrity. Just as she set her coffee down, her phone buzzed with a message from Ifeanyi. "Meeting with the marketing team at 9. I assume you'll be there?" She smiled to herself. Ifeanyi was still reeling from the boardroom drama of the past week, but it was clear he was coming around. His message was his way of saying he trusted her, even if he didn't fully agree with her decision yet. "I'll be there," she replied quickly, sipping her coffee as the quiet of the morning began to melt into the bustling rhythm of the day. Her thoughts drifted back to Chike again. They hadn't known each other long, but their connection had become undeniable. He had given her something she hadn't even known she needed, a space where she could simply be Adana, not Adana Enkay, the CEO, the billionaire, or the woman with the world on her shoulders. Chike didn't care about the titles or the wealth. He cared about her, and that was something she cherished more than she had realized. As she got dressed, slipping into one of her favorite tailored suits, Adana found herself reflecting on just how far she had come. For years, she had convinced herself that being at the top meant sacrificing everything, sacrificing her happiness, her personal life, even her true self. But now she knew differently. She could have both, power and love, strength and vulnerability. By the time she arrived at the office, Enkay Enterprises was already buzzing with energy. There was a renewed sense of purpose in the air, and Adana could feel it in every corner of the building. Employees moved with precision, and there was a palpable excitement for the day ahead. As she stepped into the elevator, she caught her reflection in the polished walls. Gone was the woman who had been running on empty, consumed by the need to prove herself. Now, she saw someone who had rediscovered her purpose, someone who was ready to lead with heart and mind. The first meeting of the day was with the marketing team, where they discussed the latest campaign for their upcoming product launch. Ifeanyi, seated across from her, gave her a brief nod as she entered, signaling that they were ready to begin. The team leader, Kemi, launched into her presentation, outlining the new strategy with enthusiasm. As Adana listened, she found her thoughts drifting to the bigger picture. Now that she had rejected Emeka's merger proposal, Enkay Enterprises was once again charting its own course. She had made the right call, but now they had to be smart about how they moved forward. Growth was inevitable, but it had to be sustainable and ethical. The path ahead was still filled with challenges, but for the first time, Adana felt like she was steering the ship in the right direction. Once the meeting wrapped up, Ifeanyi lingered, his expression softer than it had been in days. He had been concerned, perhaps even afraid that rejecting the merger would leave the company vulnerable, but now he seemed to be reassured. "You handled that well," he said, his voice low. There was a sincerity in his tone that hadn't been there before. Adana smiled at him, appreciating the rare compliment. "Thanks. I'm glad we're moving forward." He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "I have to admit, I was worried when you turned down the merger. I still think it could have been a big opportunity for us. But I respect your decision. I just hope you know what you're doing." Adana met his gaze, feeling the weight of his words. She knew Ifeanyi was only trying to protect her, to ensure the company's legacy remained intact. "I know you were concerned, but I believe in what we're building here. We don't need Emeka's company to succeed. We've always been strong on our own, and will continue to be." Ifeanyi nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You're right. I guess I just need to trust that you've got this under control." Adana smiled softly. "I do. And I need you by my side to help me see it through." For the first time in a long while, the tension between them seemed to ease, and Adana felt a wave of relief wash over her. Her brother was finally on her side. As Ifeanyi walked back to his office, her phone buzzed with a message from Chike. "How's your day going? Still surviving the corporate world?" Adana grinned as she typed back quickly. "Surviving and thriving. How about you? Busy day? Just wrapped up a project. Want to grab dinner tonight? I know a great place." Her heart skipped a beat at the thought of spending more time with him. She still had a few meetings to get through, but the idea of unwinding with Chika felt like the perfect end to the day. "Dinner sounds great. Send me the details and I'll be there." With that, Adana returned to her work, her focus sharp. The day passed quickly, filled with back-to-back meetings, but there was a new energy within her, a sense of excitement, of hope. For the first time in weeks, she felt in control, not just of her career, but of her entire life. She had found a way to balance the demands of Ikeji Enterprises with her personal happiness, and it was a revelation. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the city, Adana checked her phone once more. Chiki had sent the address of the restaurant, a cozy little spot by the waterfront, not far from her office. She smiled to herself as she gathered her things. It was time to shift gears, to leave the corporate world behind for a few hours, and enjoy the simple pleasure of good food and even better company. When she arrived at the restaurant, Chik was already waiting by the entrance, his familiar warm smile greeting her. As she approached, he wrapped her in a gentle hug, and for the first time all day, Adana felt herself fully relax. "You made it," he said, his voice full of affection. "Of course," she replied, feeling a sense of calm wash over her as they stepped inside. The restaurant was small but intimate, with a stunning view of the water. As they sat down, the conversation flowed as easily as always. They talked about their days, about life, about the little things that made them who they were. There were no pretenses between them, just two people enjoying each other's company. Over dinner, Chiki looked at her thoughtfully. "You seem different today, lighter somehow." Adana smiled, knowing exactly what he meant. "I think I finally found my balance. For so long, I felt like I had to choose between being the CEO and being myself. But now, I realize I don't have to choose. I can be both." Cheek reached across the table and took her hand, his eyes full of understanding. "I'm glad you found that balance. You deserve to be happy, Ada." For the first time in a long time, Adana truly believed those words. She deserved to be happy, and she was finally on the path to making that happen. As they watched the sun dip below the horizon, casting the world in shades of gold and pink, Adana felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. She was ready for whatever came next. Thank you for watching and following along with Adana's story. If her journey touched you, don't forget to like, share your reflections in the comments, and subscribe for more enthralling African stories. Tap the notification bell so you never miss the lessons and inspiration these tales offer. Until next time, stay blessed and keep shining.